Lionel Messi was already a legend of football and world sport when he reached the 2011-12 season for club and country. He'd won the La Liga 6 times with Barcelona and 3 Champions League titles too. Individually, he had the Ballon d'Or as the FIFA World Player of the Year, but little did his millions of admirers and fans know that he would actually become better. In 2011-12, Messi went on a run for the ages. He would score 50 goals in La Liga and 73 in all games, both records. It was a season for the ages. The greatest season by the greatest player of the beautiful game. This is perfection, the most inspired moments in sport. Lionel Messi's nickname is La Pulga, or the Flea, a nom de plume that has stuck with him from childhood when he suffered from growth hormone deficiency and his parents couldn't afford the treatment. Certainly the champion never grew to imposing heights. He is just 169 centimeters, or 5 feet 6, but he became a giant of the game. A low center of gravity allowed him to stay on the ball, even under pressure, a supreme dribbler. His longtime coach, Pep Guardiola, claimed that he seemed to run more quickly with the ball than without it. After winning the 2011 Ballon d'Or, Barcelona teammate and 2011 nominee Xavi marveled at Messi's talent.
Well, it's difficult, very difficult, because we have in front of us a footballer who I think will be the best footballer in the history of this sport. I think he has shown it already, but he is very young. He is 24, and I think he will break all the records seen in this sport.
Defenders could not take him down. Then there was his finishing. Deft and exquisite when required, explosive when he felt the need. There is something otherworldly about his football. It is like he has the ball attached to his body, said Johan Cruyff. And Diego Maradona, whose number 10 Argentine jersey Messi adopted, pronounced him the best in the world. The ball stays glued to his foot. I've seen great players in my career, but I've never seen anyone with Messi's ball control. The 2011-12 season began with 3 goals for Messi as Barcelona won the Spanish Super Cup over Real Madrid. It was a portent of what was to come. In September, he scored twice against Bate Borisov in a Champions League match. And when he sheeted home 2 more against Racing Santander, he became Barcelona's greatest goal scorer. A hat-trick against Victoria Pilsen took him past 200 goals for Barcelona. Tributes and accolades flowed at the end of the 2012 season, where he would take home his 3rd Ballon d'Or. His achievements were even commemorated in a pure gold replica of his left foot, worth an estimated $5.25 million. When we return on Perfection, Messi the Marauder and one of his greatest seasons. Lionel Messi was in the mood in 2011, and there is no more dangerous footballer when he feels like that. He was only warming up. He scored twice in the Club World Cup final and was awarded the World Player of the Year for a 3rd straight time. Only 3 players had previously won 3, and they are legends: Cruyff, Michel Platini, and Marco van Basten. Now the records began to tumble almost daily. With 4 goals in a Champions League match against Bayer Leverkusen, he passed club legend Cesar Rodriguez's record for goals in a season. Yet his occasional failures were more pronounced because of the outrageous quality of his play. When Messi missed a penalty in a Champions League semi-final against Chelsea, for instance, where Barcelona was beaten, it was an ironic twist to an amazing season. The tally in La Liga ended at 50. Although Barcelona did not win the league, that honor was left to Real Madrid. But when Messi scored in the club's Copa del Rey final victory, his tally in all games for Barca and Argentina for the season had reached 73, passing the great German Gerd Müller's European season record of 68. Messi ploughed on into the new season, and when he scored in a World Cup qualifier for Argentina against Ecuador, he theatrically placed the ball up his shirt with a message for his fans. His girlfriend Antonella Rocuzzo revealed later that she was pregnant. FIFA does not recognize calendar year records, but Messi was headed for the Guinness Book of Records at least. In December, he scored twice against Real Betis, the second of which took him past Müller's longtime record for Bayern Munich in Germany in 1971. 85 goals in a calendar year from 60 games. Messi sent a signed number 10 Barcelona shirt to Müller, who was chuffed. "I'm delighted for him," said the German. "He is an incredible player, gigantic." Messi scored twice against Cordoba and Atletico Madrid. A nutmeg followed by a lethal left-foot strike against Real Valladolid gave him 91 goals for the calendar year. He scored a goal for every 73 minutes he spent on the pitch, averaging 1.232 goals per game, higher than many teams could manage.
I think it would be irresponsible to make a comparison between him and other extraordinary players from the past. They were all the best players in their times, but football has changed. Today we play differently, and hence it is very difficult. Messi is an extraordinary player, and no doubt he already is among the best players of all time. And it is also likely that he will become the best player of all time.
Messi won a 4th straight Player of the Year trophy after his record-setting season and the European Golden Boot as highest goal scorer.
This is obviously a collective award. Every time I win an individual award, I say the same thing, because it is the reality. And this award, more than anyone, it is an award for scoring goals, and without my teammates, I wouldn't have scored any goals.
Lionel Messi has continued his marauding ways since that glorious season. He took Argentina to a World Cup final in 2014, then won his 5th Ballon d'Or in 2015. Messi may somehow conjure a way to create something better, more inspirational, but it's doubtful.
My goal is to achieve as many things as I can until the end of my career. I have always been this way. It is how I am. My thirst to win will be intact until the end of my career. When I get to that point, I will look back and see what I have achieved, and then I will make an analysis of everything.
Kelly Slater is both the youngest and oldest world champion of surfing. He won at 20 and then at 39 for an 11th time. Little wonder he is a legend of the sport.
Here we go, Kelly Slater using his priority at back door. Dropping in, driving, still going.
When the veteran Kelly Slater won his 11th ASP World Surfing title in 2011, he had to come back and win it all over again. While this sounds odd, in reality, it was more anticlimactic. The ASP, the organization which runs the sport at the professional level, had miscalculated the points tallies on the day in the Rip Curl Pro Search in San Francisco in November, when the 39-year-old American won his heat and was deemed to be world champion, his points tally being apparently unbeatable. Slater had been carried up the beach in the traditional fashion, showered with champagne, and even presented with the trophy. But that very night, Slater realized that he had been wrongly awarded the trophy, told the organizers, and the World Championship had to be revoked. Fortunately for all concerned, Slater came back the next day and won the heat that he required to clinch the title, to the great relief of the ASP. That's Slater, always finding a way. The sport has never seen a greater winner. This was a mistake, said the ASP's Renato Hickel. In the end, we're responsible for this. Slater was unfussed, and they celebrated all over again. He wasn't even sure where the trophy was. "I think it's at my house," he joked. Kelly Slater, the son of a bait and tackle merchant from Cocoa Beach in Florida, had trumped the world yet again.
You know, that's what you come to expect. You know, when you go up against Kelly, you got to bring your A game and you know, or A+ game.
Here we go, the 10 times world champion. What's he got for us? Is he going to go to the air again? Yes, he does. And does he pull it off? Yes, he does. Kelly Slater.
He'd surfed from the age of 5, turned professional at 18, won the world title for the first time at 20. Nobody ever dominated him, although several overtook him for periods, like Andy Irons, a triple world champion who tragically was found dead in his hotel room in 2010. Hauntingly, Slater's victory at San Francisco came on the first anniversary of Irons' death.
Things happen for a reason, and there's a connection there somehow. And, you know, I went to Tahiti really wanting to win here after Andy did. And, you know, that was obviously really special for me, and that got me back on a roll. And then I went to New York and had a good contest, went to Trestles, had a good contest, and that was really where I focused. You know, that's really where I got all my points this year, and obviously I had a good run in Portugal and, you know, so-so in France.
Slater became an iconic figure in American culture as he clocked up the world titles. They built a 3-meter bronze statue of him at Cocoa Beach and put one of his boards in the National Museum of American History. The House of Representatives passed a resolution honoring his achievements, and GQ magazine put him on the cover of an issue dedicated to the 25 coolest athletes of all time. Slater was relentless. His secret? Self-confidence that never turned into self-satisfaction. I want to surf better tomorrow. I want to surf better in 10 years. For me, it's a lifelong journey. Up next on Perfection, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world.
Manny Pacquiao.
Emmanuel Manny Pacquiao is one of the most famous athletes on the planet after 20 years in the ring. Manny Pacquiao is a freak of nature, a man who has won world titles in 8 weight divisions, a first in the sport of boxing. It's often said that pound for pound, he is the greatest fighter in the world, perhaps the greatest ever. The Philippines has no bigger star in any sphere. The country grinds to a halt when he fights. Pacquiao came from abject poverty and often slept in a cardboard box as a boy. He was spurred to take up boxing in 1995 when a friend, Eugene Barotak, was killed from injuries sustained while fighting. He was just 150 centimeters tall, or 4 feet 11 inches, and a scrawny 44 kilograms, or 98 pounds. He put weights in his pockets to make up the 7 pounds he needed to gain to fight in the minimum weight division. He started winning, from light flyweight to flyweight, to super bantamweight to featherweight, and then from lightweight to welterweight, where in 2008 he beat Oscar de la Hoya. It was a famous win with a massive pay-per-view audience and huge payday for both fighters. The Philippines had a national hero by now. Pacquiao joined the Filipino Congress and became rich. And his talent regularly sees the millionaire making the Forbes list. His greatest fight, perhaps, was his second against an old rival, Juan Manuel Marquez, on March 15, 2008 in Las Vegas. About promoted as unfinished business because they had fought 4 years earlier. A controversial fight ending in a draw. Pacquiao won the rematch, but it was close, and both boxers were cut. Pacquiao's left hook sat Marquez down in the third round, and in a 115-112 result, this proved decisive. Marquez's camp disputed the result and demanded a rematch, but Pacquiao was dismissive. "I think the business is over," he said. In the lead up to their third confrontation, again won by Pacquiao in 2011, both fighters made reference to the controversy of past bouts.
I think it's gonna be a good fight because Marquez is declaring that he won the fight, the last two fights, and of course I won't let that happen. And I have to train hard for this fight and to give my best and to give a good show.
Marquez was adamant he'd been hard done by.
The two fights, the judges give a controversial decision. A lot of people think this, but I use my style. And this fight I need condition. I need everything because this fight is in a different way.
They would meet again a year later, and Marquez took the judges out of the equation by knocking the Filipino out. It was a rare indignity for Manny, who had lost just 5 times and only twice by KO. But like a true champion, he picked himself up off the canvas and regained the WBO welterweight title in 2013. He defended it twice, and despite losing to Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the fight of the century in 2015, he remained a hero to his people. That is the Manny Pacquiao effect. Meares literally broke her neck trying to win gold at the Olympic Games. It makes Australia's most famous track cyclist one of the bravest of all athletes. When Meares of Australia broke the C2 vertebra in her neck and dislocated her right shoulder in a crash at 65 kilometers an hour during the World Cup in 2008, her career might have been over. In a sense, this would not have mattered. She had already won an Olympic gold in the 500-meter time trial at Athens in 2004, and a silver in the women's sprint at Beijing 4 years on. But Meares would not stop for anything. After her accident, she astonished friends and family by finding her way back to the bike in just 10 days. She endured a traumatic rehabilitation process to repair the damaged bones, ligaments, and tendons, all in an effort to not be denied a spot at the Beijing Games that were fast approaching. She finished second at Beijing, beaten by her arch-rival, the brilliant British sprinter Victoria Pendleton. But for Meares to even compete was a miracle.
But if
4 years on, the pair would square off in the gold medal sprint again in London. This time, Meares would have her greatest day. Sprinters are one of a kind. They're often aggressive by nature, a bit quirky, and it's not a place for the faint-hearted or the shy. Pendleton was faster, Meares knew that. But sprints are best of 3, and tactics are crucial. The faster rider is not always the winner. A few weeks out from the London Olympics, Meares formed a plan with her coach Gary West. They knew that Pendleton loved to ride from behind and swoop at the finish. Meares would try to take the Briton, who had already won the Keirin gold medal, out of her comfort zone. Months earlier, at the World Championships in Australia, Pendleton beat Meares in the semi-finals 2-1 and confirmed the pair's often testy rivalry, adding fuel to the Olympic fire to come.
I'm very interested to read about Pendleton v Meares as well, actually. It keeps cropping up. Yeah, Anna and I are very different riders. She's someone who likes to kind of push the rules, and I definitely don't. But there's nothing wrong with that, you know, like I'm not... It's just slightly different styles and how we approach the same event.
The rivalry is a rivalry. It's a great one between Victoria and I. I have always had respect for Victoria, and I've always said that I've had respect for Victoria. I've never said anything on the contrary. And sometimes with great rivalries, you can't have a great friendship because there is so much riding on the line for those involved that it's an uncomfortable situation to try and be able to switch off and open yourself up to that person when you do need to beat them on the track.
Before a roaring crowd at London's Olympic Velodrome that was measured at 114 decibels and already one up after the first sprint, the Australian pulled out her winning move on lap 2 of the second sprint. Climbing high on the track, she took a stationary position so that Pendleton reluctantly went to the front. Soon Meares would reel in the Englishwoman and win clearly to take the gold medal, 2 races to none. Meares had entered cycling rare air, at the time becoming the first woman from any country to win 4 Olympic track medals and the first to win a medal at 3 games. Multiple world and Olympic champion Pendleton hugged Meares, who burst into tears.
We had a wonderful embrace when we were underneath the track waiting for our medal ceremony, and I think that private moment between the two of us gave us a little bit of a break from us being so tentative towards each other as a result of some of the media hype that had been surrounding us in the lead up to these games. So, yeah.
After years of fierce competition between them, the ice had melted. When we return on Perfection, a figure skater and Korean icon. Kim Yuna burst onto the figure skating scene when she won her first world title as a teenager in 2009. And she quickly became the preeminent skater on the planet and a cult figure in her native South Korea. Often referred to as Queen Yuna, the imperious Korean dominated her sport for several years, setting world records and winning a gold medal at the Vancouver Winter Olympic Games in 2010. She became so famous in Asia that Forbes magazine estimated her earnings in 2010 at around $10 million, among the top handful of female athletes in the world. The giant Samsung Corporation used her to sell phones, and her endorsements were enormous as the first Korean woman to soar to prominence in world skating. That profile landed her a Youth Olympics ambassador role. Kim reached her zenith at the Vancouver Olympics with her James Bond-themed short program, Flawless and Graceful, and completed with a Bond girl move, the mock shot and the theatrical puff from the lips to the barrel of a smoking gun. Her long program was themed to Gershwin, and her scores were outrageous. She was first in both the short program and the free, and became the first woman to break the 150-point mark in the free. Her total of 228.56 also broke her own combined world record, and her records still stand. Kim Yuna had worked with her Canadian coach David Wilson since she was 15, but in 2011 she split from Wilson in a change that shocked her coach. It was a series of insults, he told the media. I deserved more respect. Still, she kept competing and winning. Then at the 2014 Winter Olympic Games in Sochi, the Queen was dethroned, and controversially so. Kim was beaten by the Russian Adelina Sotnikova and pushed into second place, one of the shock results of the Games. Figure skating's scoring system had been changed after a series of controversies, and now the sport had another drama on its hands, for Kim had completed a flawless routine. Experts said that Sotnikova had completed a more technically challenging routine, hence her slightly higher scores, even though she made one small error. The new scoring system rewarded Sotnikova for taking more risks. Back in Korea, the fans were less than convinced.
I actually expected her to win the gold medal because her performance was clean. Although she received a silver medal, Yuna Kim made us really happy, and I am thankful for that.
I questioned whether the result was really fair.
Not that anything changes for Kim Yuna. Retiring from competition after the Sochi Olympics, she is entrenched as one of her sport's greatest of all times.